those are my closing words from my review of Storm Issue 1, way back in October 2024. Now that we've gotten all 12 issues, it's time to ask, just how good is it? I'll go over each arc of the series one by one, starting with the first 5 issues, which I'm calling the Death and Rebirth arc. This arc is peak, easily the highlight of the whole series. Watching Storm's slow descent into desperation as the radiation sickness takes hold, for her to be helped by Dr. Voodoo, which ends up killing her just 1 issue later. Chef's kiss. By the way, the introduction of Agoun deserves praise all on its own. He's not the first African-themed villain that Storm's had, but he may just be my favorite. More Yoruba-themed characters for Storm. The arc ends with the introduction of Eternal Storm and all her splendor and terribleness. A form which, despite how dope it looks and how powerful it is bad news for Storm. Not unlike her Black Vortex form, which I'll touch on later. This form gives so many Storm fans what we've been craving for years. A Storm that doesn't hold back. But it comes at the cost of Storm's free will. A fact which traumatizes Storm by the end of issue 5. And to think, issue 1 ended with Eternity announcing Storm's worthiness. Issue 4's narration calls Storm's resurrection something more and beautiful. All for it to lead to this. A masterclass of setup. Issue 5 also introduces the larger plot of Eternity's feud with Oblivion, and from here on out, the series jumps back and forth between the very distant past, present, and near future. It reads much better when you know where it's going, but I think these early issues actually make the Thunder War harder to read, for reasons that I'll explain later. Either way, this arc is still awesome. We thought all of Storm's trials were preparing her for some greater ascension, for Eternity to actually help her, but in reality, he was just buttering up her soon-to-be deceased body for his own selfish uses. But this brings up one issue I have with this arc. We never learn why Storm needed to die to become the host of Eternity in the first place. Maybe he needed to create a connection with her, but shouldn't they already have one? There's Storm's spiritual and psychic connection to the biosphere of Earth. Since Earth is Eternity's heart, doesn't that make Storm connected to him already? Also, Eternity's already been inside of Ororo. During an issue of the Fantastic Four, Eternity's consciousness is briefly placed inside Storm's mind to allow the Fantastic Four and Doctor Strange to heal him from a cosmic disease. And yes, I am oversimplifying the plot for the sake of time. You could argue that Storm's willpower is so strong that Eternity needed her to be dead first before he could supplant her will. But that's never mentioned or implied in the text, so the question stands. Other than that, I don't have any big issues with this arc. I only wish the rest of the series was this good. Up next, we have the X-Manhunt arc, which takes up issues 6 through 9 and X-Men issue 13. It also overlaps with the upcoming Thunder War arc. As the name suggests, this arc is part of the bigger X-Manhunt event that's all about Charles Xavier's escape from Greymalkin prison. Storm grants him Sanctuary, which leads Cyclops' team to attempt a capture mission. Eternal Storm absolutely dog-walks the X-Men until Psylocke's able to talk her down by appealing to Ororo's humanity, aka threatening to kill Maggot, who was locked inside a cocoon. From the start of issue 6, there's already some serious issues. Not only are we treated to another glorious round of X-Men vs. X-Men, but the event totally kneecaps the momentum of issue 5. We go from Storm sobbing in her sanctuary after regaining control of her body, to Storm getting ready for war and eating nachos with Chuck.
What?
Think of everything we could have gotten instead. All those complaints fans have been having about never knowing what's in Storm's mind are amplified because of this. Because now we don't even get to see what she's doing, let alone get in her head. Now would be a great time to see her praying to her goddesses, or meditating for some ancestral wisdom. But nope, nothing of the sort. Speaking of which, why do we never see Storm's ancestors in this book, in this title, or the goddesses that she prays to? They're always name dropped, but they never appear. Especially Oster. For Storm to be so connected to her, she literally has zero presence in this title. But at least we do get a good look at Eternal Storm's power. And this time, we also see how Eternity views Storm while inhabiting her body. not as a friend, an ally, or a student. To Eternity, Storm's just an inexperienced child and a tool. So when he forces his will upon her, he thinks he's actually doing her a favor by showing her what she's capable of. Like a predator who's so twisted they actually think their victim wants to be violated. So yeah, Eternity has earned his spot in Storm's bald-headed bastard club. Then we've got issues 8 and 9, where Storm's grilled by the FBI. On one hand, I think Agents Phoebe and Etienne are great additions to Storm's world, and represent a more grounded, antagonistic element. Yes, even though one's a hookah-smoking alien, and the other's a voodoo spellcaster. Because they attack parts of Storm's identity, her citizenship, her status as a mutant. And these are core X-Men themes that never get old in my opinion. But in the midst of the rising Thunder War, it repeats the pattern of kneecapping momentum, because we don't meet the FBI until after Storm and Maggot had already been jumped by the Thunder Gods. My issue isn't what we got from the FBI plot, but when we got it. This was page real estate the Thunder War really needed. True, we did meet the bomb entity in issue 9, which also finally gave us a look into Storm's head after she'd been meat puppeted by Eternity for so long. But you can see how the series starts to lose the plot, and unfortunately, that feeling doesn't get any better when we get to the climax, the Thunder War arc. If Death and Rebirth is the most satisfying arc to read, then the Thunder War arc is easily the most frustrating. It just has zero room to breathe, and amplifies all of the other issues by 1,000.
Let me explain.
It opens with arguably the best action sequence of the series, with Storm and Maggot being jumped by Mama Ragan, Shango, Susanoo, and Chak. She barely escapes, swearing revenge. Then Thor ends issue 7 by saying, "No, Ororo, you can't go get revenge." Only to open up the next issue by saying, "Tap me in when you go get revenge." He does a big lore dump about Hadad, said he whooped all of the cosmic and abstract entities, and only the one above all could beat him, says that Storm's attackers might be on his side, and Storm refuses his help so she can do things her way, which culminates in her rematch with Shango using Maggot and Manifold's help. The rematch was cool, and it was the only one we got to see. Chak is captured off panel, and the other two are consumed by a black winter.
Holy cock tease, Batman!
Then Storm returns to Earth to check up on Jaden, who literally hasn't been seen since issue 1, right in time for the FBI to roll up and kill 2 of her teammates with voodoo. Storm herself almost gets killed, but then fucking Infinity shows up, and at this point, Storm's 8 different kinds of done with all of this, including her own self. So she fucks Infinity up off panel, goes Ultra Instinct, and nearly kills the twin of Eternity. Also, Galactus and Silver Surfer get dog-walked by Infinity off panel, and they drop in on the action, because why not? That not breakneck enough for you? That's okay, because now it's time for a Storm God Council meeting, where everyone except for Beta Ray Bill, aka Thor's mid-season recast, comes out as pro-Hadad, pro-universe destruction, all because gods are petty and everyone sucks.
Okay.
So now, everyone who's anyone in Marvel cosmology is fighting to save existence, and Jaden gives Storm a Snickers, so now she's herself again, but she's full of self-loathing because her friends are dead and it's all her fault. She should have studied with Dr. Voodoo. She should have accepted Thor's help. But there's no time to reflect because Gateway has to touch her! Just in time for the Silver Surfer to tell her that Hadad's on his way and she has to fight him all on her own. Murewa, my good sir.
Why?
That's what I was thinking around my second read-through of the series. But then I remembered something that I read on the Bird app regarding the length of the Thunder War. According to the Mad Lad Murewa himself, the Thunder War was supposed to be 5 issues long. 5. The actual Thunder War itself only lasted for 3 issues. So the real big bad isn't Hadad or Eternity, it's Marvel. I shoulda known.
It was me, Barry. It was me all along, Austin!
2 additional issues may not have been enough on their own, but it would have been much better than what we got. This is why I said Death and Rebirth is harder to read. We're introduced to all these dope new concepts, and it barely gets any satisfying payoff. Hell, even Oblivion gets killed by Hadad off fucking panel!
You wicked bitch!
Compared to Death and Rebirth, this whole arc is on fast forward and overstuffs way too much into these issues. And I know Murewa was not 100% at fault here, but this is still what we got, so at the end of the day, it's all we have to talk about. At a certain point, we've got enemy storm gods, trippy FBI agents, Eternity, Infinity, and Hadad all moving against Storm in one way or another. Hadad really doesn't get any fleshing out at all until issue 12, and Manifold actually isn't dead. He was being operated on at the end of issue 11. We have no idea if he survives, how he pulled through, or anything of the sort. Maybe Maggot will even be brought back by Death and pit against Storm in the War Above All. That would be pretty dope. And by the second issue, everything just felt like shit that was happening because it was supposed to happen. Oh man, we only got one issue left after this, so we better hurry up and show Hadad doing something. The only thing that got anything close to a proper conclusion was the fight against Hadad and Eternity's possession of Storm. And even that comes with some caveats. First off, there's a controversial change to Marvel cosmology done in issue 12 that retcons the creation of the Elder Gods of Earth. Before, they were created by the Demiurge Primordial, the sentient life force of Earth's biosphere, who was created by the One Above All. But in issue 12, it stated that Eternity created the Elder Gods to fight for him against Oblivion. On one hand, that does track with ancient mythology, ancient gods being petty as hell, but it also retcons Marvel lore in a way that I don't think makes it better. I'm not going to make a huge stink about this because this may or may not even stick, which unfortunately is also on brand for Marvel. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. Then of course there's Storm's fight with Hadad, which was appropriately epic. But I wish we got way more build up to this confrontation, and also for Hadad to not just be killed right away. Obviously he could come back later, maybe in the War Above All, and I really hope so, because Hadad is not the type of villain that needs to just be one and done. He challenges Storm on a physical and philosophical level. One of them represents destruction, the other represents life and balance. This is the stuff legendary rivalries are made of. And I know I'm gonna get some pushback for this next part, but as much as I enjoy the final fight's choreography and pacing, it really doesn't feel like a Storm fight. Not a proper Storm fight. It feels more like a Dragon Ball Z fight between elemental characters. We read about sun strength, atmospheric pressure, and black hole level gravity. But why don't we see it? Where's the cosmic lightning? Where's the solar winds?
Where's the kaboom?
We do see Hadad doing an ice explosion. The black lightning on some of his attacks were a good touch. But most of the fight consists of strikes and slams. Even Black Vortex Storm comes back for 2 pages, and she did even less here than she did in her fight with Infinity. And that's just Omega levels of frustrating. Not to mention the fact that she seemed to call upon this form at will, instead of it being triggered by pure instinct or emotion like usual. At least I assume that's how she did it because it happened off panel. Yes, it's cool that she used the form to heal her wounds, but that's it. And then of course, there's the climax of the climax, where Ororo plans to spare his life, but at the last minute, her hand is forced by Eternity. The way this all wraps up almost excuses everything that we went through to get here. You've got Hadad, defeated, not begging for his life, but pleading to Ororo's humanity, for her to see things his way. And his last words definitely read like a fourth wall break. The parallel to the real world is obvious, but I can't help but wonder, is he one of a handful of beings who actually knows that he's in a Marvel comic book? Then you've got Eternity's betrayal, which was just absolutely brutal, but neatly ties back to the theme of the entire series. Eternity always takes. He always took from his brother Oblivion, he's been taking from Storm over and over again, and now, even after he and Storm are on the same page for the first time ever, he still can't help but take the opportunity to kill Hadad. The last few laps to get to the finish line may have been sloppy, but the crossing of the finish line itself was absolutely marvelous. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out how Storm's final victory, bittersweet as it was, proved that her greatest strength And the one truly unconquerable thing about her remains true: her willpower. And as long as that remains intact, she will remain unconquered with limitless potential. I know I'm being very harsh in this video, but it's only because I enjoy this title so much. I really respect Murewa as a writer, and I love the fact that he's daring to do something different with Storm while capitalizing on things that have already been established but not well fleshed out. And it's not like I'm gonna drop the series or anything. When it returns next year as Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant, I'll be right here covering it. But to answer the question from the start of the video, is Storm's solo series good? I'd say the answer is yes. Not perfect, but a certified W. And easily the best solo series that Storm has ever had to date. But please, for the love of every god and goddess in the Marvel cosmology, Murewa, my man, slow the fuck down. Comment below and let me know what you think. And then click on this video right here to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, keep simping.